few nights ago, I was at a luxury resort out in Vietnam in a tuxedo, on my way into a party, trying to slip past a guard while my cover came apart. Armed men everywhere. One wrong move and the whole place turns on me. And then I heard it, not in the game, down the hall, a small voice, wide awake, asking for water. So I paused, put James Bond on hold, set the controller down, and went to be a dad for a bit. And the whole time I was filling a water bottle and tucking someone back in, part of my head was still back at that resort, wondering if I was going to make it past that guard. That's the thing I keep coming back to with 007 First Light. Not whether it's good, we'll get to that. It's whether a game like this has any room in a life like ours. So this is a Parent Gamer's review, from a parent or parents. And it's based on finishing the whole thing, start to end, plus a good chunk of the extras. Not the first couple of hours, the whole game. What is 007 First Light? This is the first proper James Bond game in over a decade. The last one landed back in 2012, and this one comes from IO Interactive, the studio behind Hitman. Long wait and a lot riding on it. One thing to mention upfront, because you'll see it on screen. I played on PC, but I started with a mouse and keyboard and switched to a PS5 controller almost straight away. It just plays better with the controller, so that's what I would recommend. It also means the button prompts in my footage are the PlayStation ones, even though this is the PC version. I'll be honest about the worry I had going in. I've played the Hitman games over the years. I like them. They ask for patience though. You watch the patrol, you learn the routine, you wait for the one gap to slip through. That's a very particular kind of game. And going in, my worry was that First Light would be too much of that. That this was really Hitman in a different suit. It isn't, or at least not as much as I feared. I feared this would be another Agent 47, but it isn't. It is Agent 007. First Light is an origin story, and it's worth being clear about what that means. This isn't the Bond from the films. IO have said as much. It's not part of the movie canon, and it isn't trying to be. You play a young James Bond, 26 years old, a recruit who hasn't earned his 00 yet. It opens with him in Iceland, on a mission gone wrong. He's rough, he's impatient, and the game is built around that. It moves forward more than Hitman does. You can play and sneak, but you can also improvise. There's a mechanic here I really like. Bond can't just pull a gun whenever he wants. He only draws once enemies are already shooting at him. And that fits. Think back to the films. Bond doesn't start the gunfight. He finishes it. So most of the time you're sneaking, distracting, talking your way through until it goes loud. And then it goes loud properly. You've got options. You can bluff past people and guards, or you can lure them out of position. And you get a spread of gadgets from Gu. I'll be straight about how that played out for me. I used the bluff less than I expected, and the lure almost not at all. And I leaned on the same 2 or 3 gadgets the whole way through. But that's the strength of it, not a weakness. There's a real variety of gadgets here, and they support different ways of playing. Lean towards takedowns with something like the flash mines, or stay quiet and slip past with smoke pods. The game doesn't force one style on you. You pick what fits how you want to play. So while there's a lot on paper, and the opening throws most of it at you at once, in practice you settle into your handful of gadgets and the rest is there if you want it. I never came back after a few days of feeling like I had to relearn the game. You pick your style and it flows. There's some driving too. There's a car chase, a couple of other sequences with cars, and a boat chase. They're fine, they're there, but none of them were very memorable. Performances are good throughout, and one is outstanding. Lenny James as Bond's reluctant mentor John Greenway is the standout of the whole game. He is the grumpy veteran stuck training a rookie he thinks is a liability, and you know exactly where that relationship is heading from the first scene. James sells every minute of it, and I didn't mind the predictability one bit. Does it feel like Bond? So does it feel like Bond? Mostly, yes. And here's what surprised me. The Bond feeling builds as you play. Early on, he doesn't quite feel like 007 yet. But that's the point. This is the story of how he becomes the man we know. By the later half, the swagger's there, the confidence is there, and the slow build clicked into place for me. Which also brings me to my main gripe, and its pacing. The opening is slow and the tutorial is quite long. To be fair, that tutorial is doing two jobs at once. It's teaching you the systems and mechanics, and it's setting up the story. And I'd argue it's an important part of showing how Bond becomes the agent he is. So it is not time thrown away. But it does take a while before the game really opens up, and there's a chapter or two later on that could have been cut without losing anything. So I'll say this plainly, because it matters for how you judge the game. If you only played the first couple of hours, you'd call it slow and you might walk away. The opening asks for patience, but it pays that patience back. The back half is where it delivers, and a verdict based on the opening alone would sell it short. IO clearly wanted this recognized as a Bond game, full stop. And you can feel them reaching for every Bond ingredient they can fit in. The locations, the gadgets, the suits, the cars. Most of the time that works. Sometimes it means the story takes the long way around and gets a little predictable. One thing worth flagging about expectations. IO leaned hard on Lenny Kravitz in the run-up to the release. His character was all over the marketing. In the game itself, that character's role is smaller than the marketing made it look. I understand not wanting to give the story away, but if you're going in expecting him front and center the whole way through, you should ease off that a touch. This is also a different Bond in another way. The old chauvinism and casual sexism from the older films, that's gone. The gentleman side of him, the manners, is dialed back too. Whether that's a good change or a loss is a whole conversation on its own, so I'm saving it up for a follow-up video.
I much prefer to be just Cressida.
Oh, there's nothing just about being Cressida.
Nice one, Bond.
And for this review, the short answer is this. It feels like Bond, and it grows into feeling like Bond, and that suits the story it's telling. Worth your time. Right, the part that matters most for this channel. Does it really fit a parent's life? Starting with pausing, because this is where it shines. You can pause anywhere, even in cutscenes. And on PC, if you Alt-Tab out, it pauses the game on its own. So when that small voice calls down the hall, you're covered instantly, every time. For a single-player game with no online pressure, the game just waits for you. Saving is a bit more nuanced. There are no manual saves, it's all auto saves, but they are frequent, and most of the time you'll stop right about where you wanted to. I lost some progress once, but that was a one-off, and honestly, it seemed like a bug. I wandered back into an area I had already cleared, got stuck, and had to reload the game. The one real thing to know is that if you spend a long stretch exploring, a save might not trigger for a while, so you can occasionally land a bigger gap than you'd like. A manual save would have smoothed that over, but day to day, it's more forgiving than I expected. On difficulty, there are 3 settings. I played the middle one, intended, and it's fair. I died here and there, but that's just gaming. If you want to sink into the story with less resistance, the easy mode strips out a lot of the friction, including gadget cooldowns. And you can change difficulty partway through, so you're never locked in anyway. Speaking of gadgets, here's a small thing that adds up. They run on meters you have to top up, and you get roughly 2 uses before you're hunting for a refill. Same with ammo. If you lean on your gadgets like I did, you'll spend a bit of time each session scavenging to stay stocked. Minor on its own, but on a short evening, it's time you'd rather spend playing. And a word on volume, because it matters here. You can play First Light quiet after everyone's asleep, and you'll be fine for the most of it. But combat leans on some audio cues. There were times I missed an incoming grenade because I had sound low, so going quiet costs you a little in the loud moments. On length, the main story runs around 15 to 17 hours. Mine went past 20, but that's because I chased collectibles and got most of them. So it's a real game, not a quick one, but the story itself is a realistic target. Apparent review. You can pause anywhere, even cutscenes, and on PC Alt-Tab pauses it instantly. Autosaves are frequent, but there are no manual saves, so a long exploring stretch can leave a bigger gap. A 1-hour window gets you a meaningful chunk. Total story length is realistic, around 15 to 17 hours. It plays fine while tired, especially on the easier 2 difficulties. Strong fit if you like stealth and action-adventure with room to improvise. Low volume works, but you might miss some combat cues like incoming grenades. If you lean on gadgets, expect a little busy work keeping them topped up. For apparent fit, a strong fit. IO clearly thought about players like us. The pause anywhere alone tells you that. They just didn't quite get the last mile, the safe flexibility and the small friction points that separate a good fit from a perfect one. For the game itself, a great one. Best Bond game maybe ever. The action satisfies, the performances are strong, and I just wanted to keep playing. Not perfect. The pacing sags and the villains don't leave much of a mark, but great nonetheless. Back to that night at the resort, the one where I had to walk away. When I got to the controller again, I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to know what happened next. For a parent with a small slice of evening, that pull is worth a lot. So who's it for? If you're a Bond fan, you'll get a real kick out of this, as long as you're open to a new take on him. Never seen a Bond film in your life? It's still a great action-adventure pick for a parent gamer, and great if you like stealth. At $70, weigh it against your hours, but I think it's worth it. And if Switch 2 is your machine, that version should be coming later this summer, so it's a short wait, not a big deal. Now, that second video I mentioned, all about how this young IO Bond stacks up against the Bond from the films we grew up with. That's the one I'm most looking forward to making. If you want to see it, subscribe, and you'll catch it when it goes live. If this helped you make the call, a like makes a real difference for a channel this size. And there's a Ko-fi link below if you want to support the channel. Thanks for spending some of your evening with me. Go enjoy yours. See you in the next one.